impacted? One, do you feel like it was different between the ladies and the guys? So maybe your brothers and sisters, and how he treated you. How has that had an impact in your mental health?
Oh, wow.
Maybe the ladies should be.
Hiyo siku-
From a reaction, Ooh.
But let me tell you, let me just share that. It's a powerful conversation because we had such a similar conversation with my bro. I have a big bro, and recently, just a few months ago, we were having a chat about. I think how I can say, in conclusion, what we were trying to figure out is, are we raised by the same folk? Because
That's a good one.
and I'm just like, and we were just like, so it's been a long time coming with my bro. So it was a very interesting conversation because I was sitting in his house and we were just talking about how I was raised, my journey, my experience, and it just seemed like a completely different world, you know. And I'm just like, hey, you know. So we were just talking about it, and one of the things I realized when, you know, my bro being the firstborn, I think how my father raised him and how my father raised me, I won't lie, different. Very different experiences. Of course, same father, but different ways. And I think by the time he was raising me, he had had some experience with my bro because, my bro, I think he was beaten. If he wasn't beaten, it's possible the conversations were not as soft as they were. The conversations were soft with me because for me, I've experienced, my brother was telling me, it is interesting. Yani you usually have conversation with dad. You have always had conversation. I'm just like, as opposed to. Yeah, it's just like, it was different for me. You know, for me, I was just listening, do this, I do this. I'm just like, really? I wasn't told things like that. So when I now connect it to mental health, I think also just to what you were speaking to before, it is God who gives you grace to raise your children. There is no manual, especially, you know, like if I think about it, my dad raising my bro in the beginning, they were just trying to do what they knew, you know. Walimpeleka boarding mapema. Is it okay to speak Kiswahili?
Yes.
Okay, they took him to boarding school early. You know, like me, I'm the one who asked to go to boarding school. And then they're like, are you sure? Is your daughter sure she wants to go? I'm just like, but you took PK, even without him asking. And then PK on his other hand is like, why am I being taken to boarding school so early? Such different worlds. And so I think by the time they were taking me to boarding school and they're wondering, why do I want to go, is maybe they had seen how my brother aliteseka. They're like, I don't think I want my child to go through this. So how has that impacted my mental health, especially now? To be honest, when I was small, I used to see there's a difference. Of course, how they raised my small sister, they had a lot of experience now with my bro and I. But I used to see there's a big difference in how I'm treated, and not in a bad way. I used to think like being a second born, I can get away with quite a bit. You know, I would invite them for school gigs and they would come supportive, you know, and not that they were not supportive for my bro, but I used to feel like there is a difference, but I can't really tell what the difference is. And when I think about it now, what has that done for my mental health? My dad helped me to, as I said earlier, to have conversation and to have deep conversations, you know, even when I'm not comfortable, even when I know I'm on the wrong, and he would still be okay to speaking to me. When I have any questions up to date, I can easily call him and tell him, my business at the moment, we're not making money. I don't know, what do I do? Should I stop? Should I start? And he will still go ahead and have conversation with me. I have found a mentor and a friend in my dad, and that has helped me to just know, especially when you come from the village to the city, and you realize it's so easy to end up being alone or finding the right people to work with. I have always known I can always call home. I can always call my dad and have someone to speak to me and guide me and just share his thoughts or idea with me. Him bringing me up through conversation as well helped me realize it's okay to be vulnerable. You remember what we were talking about outside, how we were saying for some people it's very difficult to say embarrassing things about yourself. One time I was asking myself, should I tell my dad I was almost conned? Should I tell him I have been conned? What will he think of me? You know, will he think I have failed? But then I'm just like, who else do I tell? You know, maybe if I tell him, he has experience. And to be honest, that day it was New Year's. Around New Year, it was actually Christmas time, and we were sitting at the art cafe at the Hub, and I was very stressed because at that time my business was not doing well, especially because I had just gotten conned. And you know, you just don't go and tell people, alas, you're conned. I'm Sheba, you know things. You even train at Zentronomy. How can you be conned? So the only person I could share with who is my dad, because by then he wouldn't judge me. And I always knew I have this space. Even if I tell him the craziest thing, he's so smart. He knows he will just pull up something from scripture, and then I will cry a bit, and then I'll just feel, that was nice. Yeah. So we were sitting at that cafe, and I'm telling him, yo, Nairobi County, this is what has happened. He's like, I'm telling him this is how much, this is what is going on. He's like, hey, don't worry. Even me, many years ago, I'm just like, even you, oh, you're human. You know, these are normal mistakes. So that has also, in my mental health journey, just helped me to also, he's not a therapist, but I can tell you through having those conversations, it helped me to even start speaking to therapists and having sessions, because there is power in speaking up, you know, in conversation. So, yeah, that is my experience. Most of my dating life, it hasn't been that active, but most of it, to be honest, I think I was looking for my dad. I was looking for an encourager. I was looking for a good provider. I was looking for a priest. Yani, hizo vitu zote nimesema. I was looking for that. And, you know, they're not bad things. I think what that journey has taught me is that every man is his own man, yeah? And even if I was looking for my dad, I don't think, was it good? It just helped me to have standards. But now I have since learned that every man is his own individual, and I am not supposed to be copy-pasting a man in my life. No, I am supposed to just work with the person who I love in my life right now and encourage him to be the best he is, not to make him what I think he should be. So in terms of did dad contribute to my dating? Yeah, he contributed to what I think or what I felt or thought I should date. But now I know, you know, just to accept who I have and allow them to be also their best version of themselves. Or what else about dating? Yeah, you know, also one of the things, I will not forget about my dad when it comes to dating. You know, I remember one time I was dating this person, and we happened to meet, with my dad as well. And you know, my dad, he cannot lie with, his face cannot lie. Haiwezi danganya. If he's happy, you will know. If he's not impressed, you'll also know. And I just saw his face. I just knew this one. It's a no. Yeah, so he also contributed to that, and I'm happy it was a no, because now I'm dating an amazing person in my life, and he's not my dad, and I just love him the way he is.
Interesting, because wow, now you've taken me back. I've had many conversations with my dad, which are very interesting, but I've already alluded at the beginning that the way my dad used to speak to us and some of the things he used to tell us has affected us. They used to call me clumsy all the time. You know, already, you know, it messed me up for very many years. But I'm the only boy, and I have 6 sisters. I'm the second born. So,
Actually, not.
yeah.
6, you already
Yeah.
have 6 sisters.
Yeah.
That's perspective.
So I have 6 sisters, and interesting. Like I have conversations. It's true. Like you've had conversations with your brother, and it's like north and south. Now I'm not the first born. I'm the second born, but all the girls have similar stories. The way I was treated was a lot better. Let's just put that a lot better than the girls, because they kind of sounded like they were treated more like things and people to do things, sent a lot, and I did get a lot of that from my dad, thankfully. So I feel like, at least when I compare my mental health with my siblings, it's a lot better. Yeah.
That's what you think.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
That's what you think.
But my dad has done things. Oh my gosh, my dad has done things that had really affected us. For one, when I was, I think I was 14, somewhere between 14 and 16. So my dad remarried. Oh no, he got married. He got a second wife. I didn't know until I was maybe about 14. So he takes us on a drive. Me and I have now, for my mom, we are 4. So my older sister, and I've got younger twin sisters. So he says, let's go on a drive. So he takes us on a drive, and we go to this nice place in Runda, and very big house, and he introduces us to our sisters. So there were small girls. Yeah, so it was a bit shocking for all of us. My older sister had been told, like, I think a month before. So she had been quiet for a whole month, and I didn't know what was bothering her. But now we're introduced. And of course, for me, it was interesting because I was the only brother. So these girls knew all about us. So these girls, in fact, my dad didn't even introduce us. The girls ran to me, like 2 girls ran to me and said, "Brother!" So I was like, what's happening? What's happening here? So that was how I got introduced to my younger sisters. Before that was, I think, 2. And then my father got a 3rd one. So now I have 6 sisters. And it took us years to get through this concept of there are more siblings, one, and my dad has another wife. So, and then my dad's conversation to me was, I needed to introduce you to your younger sisters because in future, I don't want you to bring one of them as your wife. That was his logic. So yeah, so you get that in there and you're like, okay, that makes sense, yeah. It's a sensible thing to say. But it took us a while because I really, for me, they're my sisters, it's not their fault. So I really wanted our relationship to improve. And we talk, we have a relationship, at least we're good. But it took us a long time to recover from that situation. Now for me, at that point, my mindset changed. I was like, men will be men. This is a man and he just did what men do. And I used to look up to my dad. I used to think I'll become like my dad. My dad was an engineer. I was driving to become an engineer. You know, everything. I changed everything at that particular point. I didn't want to be like my dad. I didn't want to be an engineer. I said, I'll pick something else, not engineering, you know, I'll do something else. And so for me, I had to rethink my entire life plan from that point so that I don't turn out to be like my dad. For my siblings, they looked up to my dad as the perfect man. Now he's just messed everything, destroyed their idea of their, so even up to today, they're still recovering from all that trauma. Second thing, my mom brought us up in a Christian home, so I knew that God created a man and a woman, like marriage is between one man and one woman. So and I was there like, so now my dad has 2 wives. What does that mean? How that completely destroys God's plan, you know? And up to today, I always wonder how that, you know, why can't one man? Is it that one man can't be with one woman? What's the problem? So I've always had that issue, and I thought my dad would be a better man than that, but apparently a man is a man. So yeah, it affected me, and growing up, even I thought I'd get married early, but when I got to the age where I thought I would get married, maybe around my early 20s, I told myself, let me wait until all these worldly things are out of my system. I'm not interested in very many women. I'm just interested in one. So I'll wait as long as I can until I can get married. That was my thinking, because I didn't want to get married early, because my dad got married, say 23, 24, 25. So I didn't want to get married that age and then later on maybe find some other woman. I said, let me wait. I think the second wife came when he was around 30 something, 35. So I said, I'll wait until then. And then that's when I'll probably look for a wife, or at least make that commitment and get married. So big effect there, yeah. So yeah, and hopefully then I would have settled mentally and be able to stick to one. Thirdly, my dad drinks. And he was not an alcoholic like those guys who come in drunk and disorderly, but he used to drink, and my assumption is he found these other activities in the bar. So I don't drink. I don't take alcohol. Not because I don't want to drink or I don't think I can enjoy it, but simply because I don't want what comes with the alcohol. And that is, those are the extracurricular activities. So yeah, so I try my best not to engage. Even when you offer me, I smile and I even leave, but I will not partake because I'm afraid that if I do, it will lead to other things. So yeah, I'm glad that I didn't drink, but you see, that was what kept me from drinking, not because biblically I think, oh, I'm a Christian, I can't drink. No, that didn't even cross my mind. You know, I said, no, I drank, so, you know, you people can drink, so I don't even judge you if you drink. But myself, I will not drink because of what comes with those activities. Yeah. So I guess there were some positives that came out from it, but it did affect me mentally because there are just certain things, even now, there are things I avoid. Fourthly, money. My father was very wealthy. So he flaunted it, he boasted about it, and he enjoyed it in the worldly things. My relationship with money is not easy. I even went to St. Anthony and they had that conversation on relationship with money. And it's, it's still difficult because I'm afraid of having a lot of money. Because if I have a lot of money, what will that lead me to? And of course, I know the love of money, not money, but the love of money is the root of evil. But still, I still fear having lots and lots of it, because if I do, what will that turn me into? Will that turn me into the type of man my dad was? So, very difficult. I like that. So my father was a very traditional man. Never go to the kitchen. That's not where men go. Don't cook. You come sit and food is brought somehow. I think clothes are miraculously washed. I don't know. He had a very traditional way of thinking. And one last one is, my father told me this nugget that you should have your wife on this side, money on this side, and you should be in between, and the two should never meet. It's a very old way of thinking. And because of my relationship with my father, I've done the complete opposite. Because, you know, so a lot of lessons my dad has taught me I've kept, but some of these major lessons that my dad tried to push in me, I've really done quite the opposite. I take the opportunity to cook as often as I can. I'm not a very good cook, but, and so the usual meals I cook are breakfast, but I want to teach my son that he can also cook and spend time in the kitchen.
I'll just pick up from where you left.
Yes.
So I think we grew up pretty wealthy.
Yeah.
I know you guys were not earning very well. I'll give an example for you guys. Yeah, it's a different story. But I remember my dad used to play golf, and guys are like, Kibaki is looking for you.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up. So before he quit his job, he wanted to build a swimming pool. See, that's good money. So we're doing very well growing up. At times you didn't know which cars come to pick you. So guys are like, oh, that's your car. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. So, and it's not that he had many cars. I think now that I know it was company car, maybe it was being switched. I can't remember. But I remember there's a time we probably had 4 cars. The others are for the farm. There was my dad's car, my mom's car. Then I think there was a farm car. Then maybe in between they were changing.
Yeah.
The kids.
Life changed before there could be kids. So, and now just about, because I know life changed.
Yes.
Yeah, for you guys?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so for us, life changed as well.
Okay.
So what happened is, so my dad was doing very well and he decided to go into full-time ministry. Remember, before he was a finance guy. But the beauty of, you know, at times I'm like, oh, I met so, I got to do another bro. And I'm like, they told me this story about the lift. The lift. I remember that one. His sister were with them, revival, they got saved, so their family was very upset, and after revival, they were chased away, so I went to talk to the parents, and she was accepted back, and the brother was very mad. He came to the office to, so in the office, we really talked, we had a good conversation, so I pressed the lift, we entered, and he said, I want to give my life to Christ. Crazy story. So my dad pressed, they went all the way up, he pressed again down. So he did like 3 rounds. The guy gave his life to Christ. He said, I have to go back to work. Let's talk later. Notice, I've just told him, but then I met Nani. And he can't remember. Like his life is just full of such stories. Anyway, but then he was this finance guy.
Yeah.
So what that did to us is, we realized salvation is a lifestyle. It's not, because he's a pastor, so he became a pastor much later. Now, the transition, and that's why maybe I'm connecting with you of wealth. So I think he was doing well. So before he transitioned from work, we had a flower farm, exporting those days. We used to supply milk to Windsor, Muthaiga. So that's a lot of milk.
Yeah.
We used to, Kenchik used to come and slaughter like 200 chicken a weekend. That's what I thought. I don't know if those numbers are right. Maybe as a child it was, but they can't be 20 for Kenchik to come. So he had put all those things in order.
No, right?
You know that job story? Everything went down
Yeah.
over a series of years. Everything. The chicken just kaput. Then there was serious insecurity we were staying. So they built a huge house. And watu wa Kiambu, nini? Anyone wants to do a prayer series for Kiambu, let me know, I'll join. We just had to move out.
Yeah.
So the first time we were attacked, it was so bad. My dad was hacked with an axe. He was in Nairobi hospital. It was in the news drama. Hey, then he now got security call. Those days, even you know those ones. He got all those. We had guards with they're called arrows, blah blah. Those cars were closed, and all those things are on your gate. You're covered. Hey. Those thugs got our neighbor another time, kidnapped the wife. At the gate, they shouted, "Open, Utadu. We have this lady. If you want her to be alive."
Wow.
Anyway, so we moved out. But we moved out, and then we were still doing okay. Hey? See, now things went down, kabisa. And that time, we were covered insurance. The insurance company fell. Remember that time? So that was, so our education was to be covered. We were covered.
Oh, no.
I think Medivac those days, so everything. So he did his part, even in terms of investing. Everything went down. Not suddenly, but over time. Surely.
Yeah.
So I'd never seen my dad javing in a matatu. Life changed that much. But the guy was the same. He didn't change. He was still the same guy, still loved God, still committed. Him and my mom, their commitment to the faith was crazy. And I remember, I think that's, you see, I was in class 8. And class 8 form 1. So I think my mom, I think maybe that discipline thing, I don't know. So mom told me, also when life happened, they decided they won't be tough on us. And I think that worked, because now in the crisis, we ran to God, we ran to church. That 100 bob was very hard. But when we were younger, and even my dad, by the time he was pandering maths, he used to think, matatu, he never used to be given change. He thinks it's that league. It's 500, 200, and it's 20 bob. He just looked money. He looked, this guy, I know how much fair he is. But then, the amazing, but what that did, definitely I don't want poverty.
Yeah.
But when Paul says, poverty or riches, Christ is all, I really kind of got that stability from them. It messed me up a bit.
Yeah.
Because after ukiniversity maisha, You never know, but you still invest. So I started investing when I was very young. I was paying school fees kidogo, investing kidogo. I learned to hustle.
Yeah.
So what the trials did to us, and so I think maybe I'd have lost it there in terms of mental health, maybe in a sense, because that's life, man.
Yeah.
There's a time we couldn't afford a house help. So I remember in high school, Form 2, I'd wake up at 4, and it's days of rationing. Remember, there's a time rationing was very long. I'd wake up at 4, wash clothes, cook, come back early, cook. But I still really loved my life, you know. So I acknowledge that, because maybe that's something that would have broken me completely. On the other hand, now, because you say mental health, I talk about my sister. I say about because she's very public, charity. She's on the mental health task force. I feel one thing fatherhood did for us is a great level of acceptance. Like, you know, and I'm sure we all had that phase where you don't have to get pregnant, you know what I mean? But for me, it wasn't, I was afraid of my dad. For us, it's, you don't want to break his heart. I knew if, and that kept me waiting, so thank God. But I knew that had I gotten pregnant, they'll embrace me at home. Not from a don't care kind of way, but it's unconditional love. Yet that made us want to do the right thing. Though we all had our seasons, you know what I mean. So my sister lives with bipolar. I say this, she's even done a BBC feature. She's very public. And and definitely a lot of these things you can talk about, you didn't know what's really happening. And I'd love to, I'll ask her what's her fatherhood story. And I think those days we didn't know this thing so much. But I have a sense that even for her to be public, you know, not many people will talk publicly about such a thing in Africa. So even that time, I think it's BBC who did a feature, they came home and my folks were there. And you can imagine a pastor having, you know, the church, but I think that level of acceptance, I think, has been a safe space. And why I say she's courageous, she has the courage to say, guys, I need to go to hospital. And I really, I admire that about her. So, I don't know what, because she's lived with this, you know, it's not something you choose, it's, you have it. So I'd love to know her story. But then it's been tough. It's been tough. But I think just to show that the fact that maybe you have a committed father, imperfect, because she has her own, you know, the interesting things I say, either way your children will have wounds. Okay, like we try our best, but that's a scary bit, but to accept that maybe you could do the best you can do, even as a believer and following God, but then your children, their journey is their journey. And loving them through it, and seasons of believing, seasons of not believing. So I admire that about the fatherhood thing, and I can't say maybe they'd have done something earlier or found out. I don't really know what to say because times are different. But yeah, I'd love to ask my sister her journey and how fatherhood played a role. But he really supports her, he and my mom. I feel he influenced my spouse, my hubby, I think because I knew I want someone who God is the center. The beauty also is because he's himself. He apologizes easily. He doesn't have a hidden life as far as I know. You know, but he helped me just know that whoever I marry is human, and yeah, but he also, and it wasn't so, I think it was more subconscious than conscious. It was more subconscious and more in terms of just values, but thankfully, at least by the time I don't know if there's a time maybe I was looking for my dad, maybe, I don't know, but maybe by the time I was getting married, I was mature enough to just love for me. So his influence was there in terms of values, which is a good thing, and just being aware to love God imperfectly and trust. So, and I'm happy. I'm happily married, and I'm thankful. Happily, imperfectly married, and I'm thankful that we are doing life.